Okay, 10:48 in the morning on the 10th of June. First rattlesnake. I am amped up now. Some of you are the mighty hunters. I am not. So I was out here getting some stuff set up. I got a little solar panel here. I'm testing. I run my fan on this at night just to see if it'll work, and so far it is. So yay for that. And then I charge it on these 3 little trickle chargers in the day. I'm just kind of getting an idea, will it work? I was getting that set up, and then I went over and checked the bees, and they're out of water. So let me get that done before I forget, because right now I probably will. So I was walking to the bus to grab some water for these guys, and it's like, stop, 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 snake right in front of you. So I'm coming over here to the bus. Right down here, yeah, this should show up. There's a depression right underneath that elbow. Snake was curled up in there. Not very big, but right next to my back door. Back door's there. Here's the bus. I'm in and out of here all the time. Earlier, I put this little wall across here, mainly to keep the rabbits out. I know I'm not going to keep the mice from going in, but I was hoping to keep the rabbits out. Also, the house is now fully bermed and skirted, and the bus is mostly protected like this. So the snake couldn't just crawl all the way under the bus. Last year I had snakes going under the bus quite a bit. So this way I can keep them from getting all the way in. Rabbits are still going down there, but pick your battles, I guess. Anyway, so it was sitting right there. Chilling. I mean, this is the thing, is coming up on the heat of the day, it's going to be looking for shade and not moving. It didn't even really respond to me. Now, I gain no pleasure in doing this, right? But for the sake of learning, Houston Firefox had sent me this snake stick a while ago. This is the second time I've used it. It works pretty good, actually. It's not very long. It feels really short when you're on the other end of it. But if you got a snake that's not moving, oh, speaking of which, keep your eye on the rest of the snake over there. Head is chopped off and it's still trying to get away. And I've seen this on the other one I killed too. It'll sit there and keep moving. It is freaky. It is right freaky. Stuff of nightmares. Anyway, so I kind of looked at it for a while, came up with my plan. What was I going to do? Where was I going to go? So I didn't have to change my mind halfway through. Also, I remembered last time I did this, I had the snake stick in the wrong hand, and I had the hardest time with the shovel trying to kill the snake because I'm right-handed and I had the snake stick in the right hand. So I kind of just took a few moments to get myself figured out. What was I going to do? How was I going to do it? So once I had the plan, just go right into executing and don't fake yourself out too much. If I give myself time to think about it, then I get really scared. And if I just go ahead and do it and have enough of a plan, so if it just suddenly comes to life on you, defend yourself. This guy, I'm going to say maybe up to 3 feet long, not very big. They can strike apparently about half of their body length, okay? So as long as you're more than 3 feet away from it, you're probably okay. Now the tricky bit is, how long is it? Because it was all coiled up. I had no idea how big it was, right? So yeah, check this guy out though. It's just freaky. The body is decapitated and still just cruising around. The other one I killed last year, it went in circles for a good 2 hours before I finally got brave enough to go pick it up and throw it somewhere else. So this time I put it in a spot that I don't necessarily have to walk right away. And then the head is on the shovel here. Not very big. What the locals are telling me, bury the head. so that if something comes along and tries to eat it, because the head can still bite even though when it's cut off, right? So I didn't really smash the head this time, I just cut it off, but it took me 3 or 4 hits with the shovel to do that. So I'm going to take it and bury it and then put a big rock on top to slow down something that's trying to eat it, just because. In the past I've buried mice and dead rabbits out here, and next day, day after, I'll come along, just happen to walk by, and coyotes or something has dug them up again. So in this case, I'm going to bury the head, and then what's left of the snake, I'm just going to take it out where I don't normally go and just throw it out. If somebody wants to come along and eat it, that's part of nature. Okay? So I'm not going to go too much into that, but I'm going to go bury the head first, and we'll just let this run for a while to give you an idea. It is really trippy. And yeah, some of the locals have said that that'll keep moving until sunset. Just whatever, right? You can see it kind of bleeding on the ground now. Yeah, just weird. Now that my heart rate is down below about 400, right? Okay, off we go. Okay, head is buried. For the sake of science, right? This is not trophy time. It's really weird. White on the bottom. I've flipped them over a couple times, trying to move them with the shovel. Okay, so maybe half as long as the stick. The stick is up to about mid-chest on me, so it's probably not even 3 feet long. So, yeah. Anyway, like I was saying before, it doesn't make sense to bury it. This is somebody else's food, so I'll just take it far enough away from here I don't have to see it. I don't save the pelts or anything like that. I'm not into that at all. Some of you guys would eat it. Not me. So, yeah, I have buried things like this before, and then something else just digs it up. So It's part of the food chain, I guess. So let's go ahead and get it out of here. And when I'm all done, yeah, check out the bottom though, huh? Isn't that weird? Oh, the last thing I wanted to get a shot of while I'm thinking of it, because usually I don't think of this one until after. This is kind of weird too. It's kind of pink at the back. I'm not sure what that's all about. Distinctive striping on the tail. Every rattlesnake I've seen has got this. Black and white. 2 or 3 or 4. That's 4 stripes. Some of the ones I've seen have only had 2. I don't know if that means anything. Age or something like that. But I've seen bigger snakes than this that didn't have as many stripes, I don't think. So, anyway, that's it. I'm going to go give this guy a final resting place and we'll get on with the day. The last week it's been really hot and hot at night. Before that we've had a lot of cool nights. Last year I had my first rattlesnake in April, and this is middle of June already. It's the first one I've seen. I kept thinking, as hot as it is, we're going to get rattlesnakes. And so I've been really looking, but you keep looking for 2 or 3 weeks or a month and you don't see them and you start to wonder, you know. So now it's time. Alright, that's it for that. After being out here for a while and not having enough water, I was really concerned a lot of times if I was going to run out. And that's a lot like the membership program. If you don't have enough income, everything gets really difficult. And that's why it's important when I launched this membership program that I got the word out right away and get people to check it out, and every little bit helps. I mean, I'm collecting rainwater in trash cans, right? Every drop, every dollar out here makes a difference. So I really appreciate you checking out what we got here. And all of the money is going towards helping me keep the ranch going and bringing content to you to show you what it's really like living out here. I'm not smart enough to be fake, so whatever's happening is what you guys get to see every day and every week out here. So I'm out here full time now, and normally you don't get to see the rain, so enjoy it when you get it. Alright, thanks a lot. Stay tuned. Check us out. Bye for now. Couple thoughts while I'm looking at it here. Since coming out here and realizing there was snakes, I make it a habit of keeping a shovel near the door. So I've got this shovel normally is at the front door, and there's another shovel over here near the back door. Alright, so when I come out, now keep in mind, that's where the snake was, right next to the frickin' shovel. Yeah, right? And here's my door. So this time of day in the morning, this is the shaded side. That's why the snake was there. I don't think snakes have really good vision. I think they can distinguish shapes, but I've been pretty close to a snake and it doesn't even respond to me unless I'm making a lot of noise. I think they hunt at night and they sleep during the day, probably. You can look at Wikipedia for me later. So it wasn't in that good of a hiding spot, but it was in the shade. That's pretty typical for snakes. I've seen snakes inside the white camper shell. There was a rattlesnake one year. I think that's the one I eventually killed. Before I built the box around the IBC here, my water tank, the IBC is a plastic tank that sits on top of a metal pallet. So I just had it sitting on the ground. The snakes loved going underneath that. Several times I saw a snake in that area, and then by the time I'd look around, then they'd duck underneath again. So they'd come out and sun themselves in the morning and then get underneath it, because that was super cool underneath, because you had a couple 100 gallons of water on top. It would have been really comfortable underneath the water tank. So that was always a problem. So I finally when I built the box, I made sure to berm all the way around it so the rats and everything can't dig underneath it. Because if you have a hole, then the snake will just go in the hole. So anyway, having a shovel close to the door, so this shovel is normally the one I have at the front door. I like it better because when you're scared and trying to hit something, I found that one time I tried to kill a snake with the square bottom shovel. If I wasn't straight on, the low corner would hit the ground and the snake would be on the high corner and I couldn't kill him. So it took a few tries. Whereas the rounded shovel I found was easier for me. I also grabbed the rake, so that was close by. If the snake started getting away, you could probably smack it with the rake and at least slow it down enough, and then you can kill it with a rake or you can kill it with a shovel. My thought was with the rake, you'd puncture a hole through him, but maybe not cut his head off, and that's the goal, is just cut his head off as quick as you can, as close to the head as you can, right? So this poor guy, when I finally killed him, he had multiple smacks with the shovel and he was all messed up on the end. Pretty much the 6 inches from the head got hit probably 4 different places. You know, one would kind of hurt him but not kill him, and you know, probably ideally smash his head as quick as you can. It's like no sense suffering. I mean, to me, it's a wild animal the same as the rabbits. You know, it belongs out here. I'm the invasive species. So if you're going to kill them, at least try to do it, I guess, humanely, if that's a thing. If I could practically relocate, and I'd thought about that the first snake I picked up last year when I picked it up with the stick. I was like, I actually had a tote. I was starting to put it in the tote, and I wasn't comfortable with the workflow. It's like, okay, how do I let go of the snake and get the lid closed quickly without it getting away again? Because at that point, I would have no idea if it's going to go towards me or away from me. That was the problem. And then if I got it in the tote, where would I put it? You know, so I was like, well, I could take it to the opposite end of my property, which is only a quarter of a mile away. I don't think that's far enough. The snake is attracted to the mice, which I have here, and to the shade and to the shelter. So every time I build a shelter, I'm attracting snakes. It just makes sense. I had a snake inside the little shop next to the bus one year. Actually, it was under the truck, and I kept trying to chase it away by throwing rocks from my shovel. I'd scoop up a shovel full of rocks and sand and throw it towards the snake, which does get it to move, but I ended up going around the truck about 3 times. It never wanted to leave, and then it finally saw the open shop that was right there because I didn't have doors on the shop, and then it goes, you know, shooting into the shop pretty quickly. If it was coming towards me, I think I'd be scared, kind of thing. So then it was in the shop, and of course that was the plan for the day, was to move stuff out of the shop that I needed. So I had to very carefully go in and figure out where exactly it was and then work away from it. And it was right in between all the totes I had to move that day. Yeah, go figure. But as long as you can see it, then, you know, if you don't make too much noise, it just sat there and curled up and went back to sleep. So I would just keep moving things away from it, and pretty soon I had the totes out that I needed, and it just never moved. Okay, so as long as you're quiet, and that's like this one. I picked it up. That's the second time I've picked up a snake with a stick, and I think they're playing dead. Honestly, you know, once you got a grip on it, you pick it up. It doesn't do anything. It just kind of sits there, you know. I think it's waiting for its chance to get away, so as soon as you loosen the grip, then it would take off. But if you have a firm grip right away, 2 out of 2 so far, but they've been both kind of relaxed when I picked them up. I don't know what they would do if they were active, you know. Man. Yeah, I'm not the expert, but that's what I learned so far. Hopefully that helps somebody out. If you can, just don't mess with them. But my feeling is, after the first year of not messing with them, I started seeing a pattern, and if I started seeing the same mistake, the same snake twice, then it was a really good chance that it was setting up here and not leaving. You know, it had an endless supply of mice and shade, so why would it go anywhere else? I can understand that. But if you start seeing the same snake over and over again, your likelihood of stepping on it is pretty high. And you'll come out and it'll be sleeping right on the doorstep and you won't see it, and then you step on it. the snake won't attack you. I mean, if you're standing there, it's not going to just come cruising right up to you and bite you. You know, it's not biting you on purpose. It's biting you because you stepped on it. So I spend a lot of my time looking down when I'm walking. You know, I miss the great view, but at least I don't step on the snake. And I guess, you know, if you understood its temperature range and what it's looking for, it's really hot out here. And one of the old guys I was talking to was saying that the snake is most comfortable about 70 to 90 degrees, something like that. That's why I haven't seen one yet this year until now, because it was colder at night, so they were probably staying closer to their dens. Okay. So now that it's warm, it came out. Well, it was in the shade, right? So if I look here, that's the shade. So every time I'm walking, I got in this habit the first year. When I walk from sunlight to shade, take a pause. One, for your eyes to adjust. And two, that snake was not easy to see. In the shade, curled up, you know, I was probably five feet away from it when I saw it, and I was walking right towards it. I just happened to pick out the pattern. You know, they do have a pattern, so they're not like invisible, but they do blend in pretty well. So, you know, just things like that. Look in the shade. Look for where they could be. It's not likely, if it's 100 degrees at noon, they're not likely to be out in the open. Although I did see one, probably about a 6-footer. It was huge. It was going, now none of this stuff was back here then, but it was cruising right across, kind of like where the water dish is now by that tree. It was just kind of cruising across and going that way. None of these neighbors were there yet, so it was going past me and on its way somewhere, you know, more or less in that direction. I saw it from about, I swear, 100 feet away, and I got scared, and I went and hid in the back of the bus and looked at it through the window. Yeah. I did not get very many good shots, but that was a good 5 or 6 footer. It was a big snake. In the daylight, when they are exposed, they turn almost completely gray. That's another thing. I haven't studied this enough, but they seem to be kind of chameleon. Maybe not to the point of changing colors, but in the dark, they turn very dark, and in the bright light, they turn pretty light. So I don't know if that's a way for them to blend in, or if it's just a way to react to the heat. So if they are out in the open, they can reflect a little more heat instead of absorbing it by turning light. So they do seem to do that. They also change shape a little bit. So if it's cold and they're trying to pull heat from the ground, they'll flatten themselves out to get more surface area. Or they might, you know, turn more round profile to have less surface area. So they're able to adapt a little bit like that. It's kind of interesting. So anyway, that's everything I know. I guess rest in peace, brother snake. Tread lightly, don't tread on me.